Well, Griffin, I'm relieved that we don't have to parse the words of CM Punk and Roman Reigns this week after getting that almost every week the last month. And instead, we'll, in a bit, talk about their brawl and this kind of chapter in the story they're telling. But let's start with the opening segment, which was Cody Rhodes coming out, 2 cheers. And before he had a chance to say too much, Stephanie McMahon came out and had a message for him, which is kind of, just basically saying, Randy's dangerous, and I don't think you can meet his level of danger in the ring. She did say this is the house that her grandfather built, not her father. I mean, it does date back to her grandfather. Given the falling out between Stephanie and her dad, Vince, it was a little... I know, some people are texting me about this and commenting that, I don't know if her slapping Cody over saying that she's not her father rang, felt like...
Why was she mad about that?
Yeah. It felt sort of like, she's not going to draw attention to a falling out with her father. And I don't know the very latest, but it was a falling out. And she was as devoted to a dad as anyone, as best as I could tell over the decades. And I saw them in person and took a photo of them together. And it was just like, I still have this photo of these two. You couldn't imagine a father and daughter looking closer when she was in her 20s. And so to me, she's not going to say, oh, well, Cody, thank you, for saying I'm not like my dad. I think the implication was your dad is more successful at what he tried than you are at what you're trying. And that is a spirit of the slap. But I will say that in the room, discussing this segment, I would have said, can we discuss some other avenues to take that maybe will work instead? What do you think?
I thought it was a cheap line. I'm like, in my head, I'm like, oh, he's going to just say this. And I'm like, that's too easy. It's cheap. And you're not like your father. Somebody told me that, I'd be like, thank you so much.
Right.
Some of us have dad issues.
Yeah.
And I'm with you that I didn't feel like they could have gone into different territory and found something different, something more creative. Stephanie makes so few appearances, and that was it.
And she was good.
It was very good.
If you set aside any issue with the mission that she had, she executed the mission well. That was a good performance from her.
Yes.
Yeah.
But that line was just like, come up with something better. Like, you've got Stephanie McMahon at this point. You rarely see her. She did do a lot to get over the danger of Randy in that segment, but I thought they lost me at the end.
Stephanie could have said, just to throw an example out there, if Cody said, well, you're not your dad either. And Stephanie could have said, well, you know what? I'm not about to face Randy Orton. That's irrelevant. You're about to face Randy Orton. That's relevant. Your dad was a wrestler who knew how to deal with people like Randy. My dynamic with my father has nothing to do with this. It's there could have just been some sort of almost just brushing it off. Nice line, Cody. Or they could have just avoided the line entirely. Which again, I think gets both of our votes. Setting that aside for a second, we can revisit it with the chat or callers or whatever if we want. But Cody never really got to react to Randy turning on him. It's like we missed this whole chapter. Now it's just Cody being lectured about how he needs to be as villainous as Randy was to have any chance to take on Randy, which is kind of weird because the whole point of the turn was that Cody would be devastated because Randy and Cody were so tight. And now Cody's going, well, I don't know. He wasn't really a mentor to me. I had to kind of keep him alive back in the legacy days. That's sort of new information in canon on Raw that, Cody had to check to see if drooling Randy, the implication being he was drugged up, he had to keep him alive. So I don't really look at him as a mentor. Well, the whole setup for the turn was, Randy, you and I were really tight and I looked up to you. So I don't know. This doesn't feel like a master plan being executed. You can say, oh, this is a good audible. You can make that argument, but I think you have to stipulate to the notion there was this whole hard, intense turn, and everyone's thinking Cody's going to be heartbroken. It's somebody else betraying him, one person after another. We don't get that. We just get him being lectured about not being quite Randy Orton enough. He needs voices in his head.
I think it's a little deja vu from a year ago where they took a legendary babyface and turned them heel at the last moment to shock and make a match out of it. And while I like the idea of Randy saying, he's got to become this guy to beat you, I've got to win this title, I can't think of you as my young boy Randy, or my young boy Cody. I get all of that and I like that, but it just seems like it was a rushed heel turn, not completely thought out. I think both companies have a what's next problem. They build towards moments or this person winning, this person being the guy, and then they don't have things lined up for. The new champion doesn't have the next feud or two lined up. And while they've been, this isn't a sudden feud. Randy's been on the back burner for Cody since Cody came back. The angle and how they're getting there is just too reminiscent of last year.
Yeah. And that is like, someone in the chat, we'll get to chat comments in a minute, had said, I dare someone to not bring up Dusty during a big Cody promo. That's a go-to segment. Someone else is going, what is Stephanie's, why would she of all people be out there? And there is some speculation, and I think it was speculation that she might be the person Randy's talking to on the phone. So maybe there's some sort of bigger story arc going on here that will make sense later. And I always just throw that parenthetically as a caveat out. When we're critical of something or questioning something, it might make sense later, and we're meant to not know. So I just throw that out there.
I'm here for the ride. So yes.
Yeah, I think that's, you know what, you owe that. You owe that to a certain degree to the promoter and the wrestlers and the booker. Yeah. Hey, okay, I'll full judgment later, but here's where I am now. And we can just go as a viewer, as a consumer of the product. Here's where we are now. And it's logical to go, Paul LV19 says, what was the connective tissue, though, to have Stephanie in that segment with Cody? Now, I will say the connective tissue was Stephanie is third generation, fourth generation person in the wrestling business, and she's saying she relates to Cody that way. And with what Randy did to Cody, she wanted to come out and give him a message that he needs to prepare to face a different kind of Randy Orton in the state of mind that he's in. And I thought it was, an interesting line to say he doesn't just hear voices, he summons them. And so she's going, this is kind of who he is. I didn't love this segment in that I think I wish there was a bridge, speaking of connective tissue, to Stephanie going, it sucks to feel betrayed by somebody who you trusted and looked up to. And boy, that would win her points in a kind of a family drama, palace intrigue sense. But it could be plausible deniability too. I mean, that's just, but she could say that to kind of lay the groundwork. And I would have suggested that. And then she could say, I'm here because I believe in your way of doing things, Cody. And you know what? It's gotten you far. But I also know something, and people who've watched my whole career arc know, sometimes people, and I've been one of them and I'm ashamed of it, will go places to get what they want that someone like you in your mindset right now isn't prepared for. And I'm here to tell you, because I used to be one of those people, and I also saw that side of Randy, as Cody pointed out.
Yeah.
I need you to be mentally prepared, because I'd rather have you representing this company than this version of Randy. And that's the missing piece with everything going on since the turn. No one is condemning Randy Orton for what he did. They're just saying, can you believe what he did? Boy, that was intense. Boy, he went to a dark place. There's all these, both sides of them. It's like a New York Times headline about politics where they treat everything like it's just equally bad or equally good because they don't want to offend anybody, as opposed to just calling a lie, or corruption, or grifting, or whatever. Everything is hedged. And that's what it is with Randy. And I've talked about that in recent podcasts this past week, that the WWE mindset does seem to be there's no such thing as right and wrong, good and bad, evil and wholesome. It's just people do what they do, and we just acknowledge it. And the intent is to get Randy booed, but we're not going to really follow up on it in a way. We're going to kind of hedge because we don't want to see seem like we're judging what Randy did. We're just acknowledging it. And I think that undercuts what was a headwind to begin with to get people to boo Randy.
They're trying to keep Randy a superstar who people still want to buy merchandise from and be in autograph lines for, and that you don't get to be a true heel when that's the case. And I think that's a big part of it. I also think the connective tissue was the WrestleMania where it was Triple H and Randy Orton and Stephanie. Triple H was cuffed to the corner of the ring. That's the stuff Cody was talking about, saying that, we can't even show that on TV anymore. That, Stephanie was attacked by Randy with Triple H being cuffed to the ring. Like, she's seen the vicious side of Randy, and she's like, you're not ready for this.
Yep. And she could have she could have spoken more directly to that. Real Legend in the chat says the other connection was the last time Orton was sadistic, Stephanie was attacked by Orton. And that was a heavy angle. I mean, too heavy. I was kind of like, I remember at the time commenting and writing, there is no coming back from this. I mean, of course there is, and I know it, but I like to say sometimes I say something that is so self-evidently true, even though in pro wrestling it won't be, that it makes it, the fact that it won't be, stand out as more ridiculous. And like Hogan, assaulting Elizabeth in a trailer back in the Nitro days. I'm like, well, we can never be babyface again after that. But, they always do. But what Orton did was, it was, when
it portrayed a viciousness, though. I mean, that's what they were trying to go for, was he was sadistic. He was kicking people in the side of the head at the time. And
own it. They want people to react to these things, but then they don't want to actually own it the week after and the week after that as being bad. So they do it because it's like, oh, heel heat, heel turn, vicious, ratings, people be outraged. But then there's no outrage the next week. They're like, well, we got what we wanted out of it, and now we're going to not own it. We're not going to condemn it. It's just pro wrestling. And then you end up with these fans chanting one more time to, heels attacking baby faces, because it's just all fun. It's a fun crowd participation, communal experience with crowd chants, and nothing is taken seriously. If within the narrative structure, if the culture of the presentation changes where you don't forgive and forget, or you don't act like it's just neutral after you try to get heat for it, you can end up telling a story that will get the fans more engaged. But instead, they're doing these traditional old school angles, heel face dynamic, but they don't follow up on them the way that every promoter in the past that succeeded and sold tickets on those angles did. You can't just do the angle. You got to follow up on it. You got to own it. There has to be consequences, condemnation. Baby faces have to be. We needed Cody acting like he was crushed by this, not blowing it off and go, I had to keep Randy alive. He's drilling on himself. So
yeah. They were also, they were smart to book Kevin Owens' heel turn on Cody outside of the arena, and to do it in front of the crowd. That you're going to get the one more time, the "We want tables" chant. Those are as overused as the Watt chants at this point.
Yeah. All right. I want to get to the chat comments. We've got a lot of people chiming in on this, Griffin, and we can respond to those. But let's pause and quickly introduce the show and ourselves, and let people know they can also participate if they're watching us live. And if they're not, how they can participate in future shows, even if you don't watch us live. This is the Wade Keller Pro Wrestling Post Show for Monday, March 30th, 2026. I'm Wade Keller, host of the show, editor, publisher, and founder of the Pro Wrestling Torch weekly newsletter. Paper copy still going out on a weekly basis. Nearly 4 decades in, since I was just a kid doing it. And also oversee, edit, and write for PWTorch.com. We have a poll up right now on PWTorch, one up earlier today, asking which match at WrestleMania are you most looking forward to? Spoiler alert, so far, Brock and Oba is in the lead. You can see the breakdown of all the matches. They've added some to the lineup officially tonight, so those aren't in the poll, but the ones that were announced we've got, including all the major title matches. And we got cool flashback articles too. 20 years ago, SmackDown flashback. So some weird. We talk about the Vince McMahon era. Don't let time go by and have you and now I'm forgetting the cliche about time going by.
Glasses.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, don't look at the past with rose-colored glasses. There's weird stuff going on, including a Vince McMahon on the cover of Muscle and Fitness magazine and a reference to Melina maybe using it for self-pleasure later to stare at it. Just weird stuff 10 or 20 and 30 years ago.
Always
especially. Yeah. So We got cool flashbacks of my reports and others on the team on the site, along with breaking news and some really strong editorials and commentary that is worth settling in and reading and taking a break from scrolling the ephemeral randos that occupy way too much of our time in this current era. So with all that said, I also host a variety of podcasts, the Wade Keller Pro Wrestling Podcast, which tomorrow will feature Sean Radican as my co-host. So join us tomorrow. That is audio only, podcast only. Search Wade Keller in your podcast app. Subscribe to the Blue Logo Show. That is that features our weekly flagship. We're going to talk some New Japan with Sean Radican. A bit of a rebound with the latest New Japan shows. We'll also, of course, talk AEW and WWE topics and more. I attended AEW Dynamite in person last Wednesday. I'll talk to Sean about that because I haven't done a flagship discussing that yet. And should be a fun show. If you want to email the show, the email address is wadekellerpodcast@gmail.com. wadekellerpodcast@gmail.com. When you search Wade Keller in your podcast app, you'll also see the red logo pop up. Subscribe to that. That includes some flashback shows and other things that you will not find on YouTube if you're watching us live on YouTube. If you're listening to us on the podcast side of things on delay, you are invited to join us live on YouTube and be part of the show. One of the ways to be part of the show is in the live chat, which we're about to get to. Some great comments in the chat already on our opening topic and other things from Raw tonight. Also, you can call us. You can be a caller. You can turn your camera off if you want. Just be an audio caller like our Blog Talk Radio days, or leave the camera on. The link to be a caller is in my TV report covering that night's episode. The link changes every time. So during Raw, Dynamite, or SmackDown, to be part of the show, go to my TV report. And please read it. There's analysis of the show. It'll catch you up on what's going on. You can get a little heads up on what I'm thinking about the show as I'm watching it and reporting on it. It's also, if you don't see the show, it's a good way to get filled in on it. And I think I do a nice job recapping the key points in the show without too much bloat either. So anyway, that is a plug for that. You can also email us. That's been a long-running thing. Email the topic of tonight's Raw. Paul Heyman will not engage in email. We'll get into that. You should read your emails, folks, I guess. The email address is wadekellerpostshow@gmail.com. If you're watching Raw, Dynamite, or SmackDown, send a comment, a rant, a question, your thoughts on things, and we can perhaps read it on the show, and then you can listen to it later on. My co-host is Griffin, Chris Griffin. He is a PWTorch contributor. He is also an entrepreneur. Griffin, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks, Wade.
Yeah.
I write a top 5 column for the Torch. Longtime reader and listener, and Wade taught me what a podcast was before the podcast was a term. I remember the first time Wade covered the weird Muscle Magazine, Vince McMahon era stuff. So, yeah. Behind me, you can see some of the setup. Nerdstalgia Shop. You can, at Nerdstalgia Shop's on the screen there. You can follow us on any social, including YouTube, and check out our What Are You Nerdy About podcast there. We're in Colorado Springs and have the largest collection of pro wrestling merchandise and other things people are nerdy about, but especially wrestling merchandise. So you can check us out on social, see what we are all about. Got to say, I'm also, I don't know if the match itself is going to be my favorite match to watch bell to bell, but I'm definitely intrigued the most to watch Oba versus Brock. I think just the way the match is laid out, how much does Brock give, how much does Oba get, and how, and what Brock's done so far, man, has really made me think more about Brock as a person and setting up somebody for the future.
Yeah, and he has a chance to see that through at WrestleMania. So we'll see how that how that plays out. We'll cover that segment in a bit here. Griffin, great to have you on. Appreciate everybody joining us if you're watching us live on YouTube, and of course our audience we built up for decades over on the podcast side of things. Thank you so much for downloading the shows on a regular basis and supporting us. And again, tomorrow, support us by downloading the flagship, the Blue Logo Show with Sean Radican. And search PWTorch also, by the way. Subscribe to the PWTorch Daily Cast, different shows each day of the week, different hosts, different themes, some flashbacks mixed in also. Search PWTorch and subscribe to that. We have some free VIP sample shows, a free-for-all for all our Patreon supporters. And then on if you have the if you search PWTorch, you'll see the charcoal gray logo pop up. Subscribe to that. There's a couple cool VIP exclusives that are free for alls on that feed. And then if you like what you hear and you've got that downloaded on your phone, if you are using the native Apple Podcast app, you can unlock all the VIP shows using the native Apple Podcast app account to do that. So many ways to go VIP. PWTorch.com/GoVIP gives you all the ways to go through Patreon, which links up with Spotify, your Apple account using the Apple Podcast app on your iPhone, or just sign up with full flexibility and full archive access with a full VIP membership at pwtorch.com/govip using credit card, debit card, or PayPal. That includes an ad-free website, ad-free versions of all our podcasts, VIP exclusive shows, and on-demand archives going back, as Griffin said, to us doing audio shows, as we call them, because podcasting hadn't been a word yet when we started figuring out how to talk into a microphone, not as nice as this one, to talk to each other about wrestling and distribute it.
And under 74 minutes, so you could burn it to a CD.
You got it. That's right. Yep. We always had. I'd stare at the clock, going, "Oh, there's a limit," because there weren't MP3 players. People didn't have. I mean, it was just there wasn't an iPod yet, or we would have called it podcast probably. So, anyway, it's kind of fun to go back to I think it's 2003 and listen to those roundtable reviews. We have a WrestleMania special section set up with I think every WrestleMania, just about every WrestleMania covered, either our contemporaneous same night roundtable or look backs. And that is an RSS feed, by the way. And you get a full VIP membership, you can customize your RSS feed. So I should show my phone sometime. I like every single show on the VIP feed. I have an individual feed for. So if I'm in the mood for one show or another show, I don't have to scroll. The latest show is there on the listing. And then you can also do clusters of shows where it's just flashbacks or just Wade Keller shows or whatever. So the full VIP membership is the way to go. I mean, it is compatible with Apple Podcasts with no advanced settings or password, but lots of ways to do it. And we'd love to have you as a member and support us during this season. All right, let's jump back to the chats. We've got so much going on. Adam Kidd says, "We love you, Wade." Thank you. I don't know what I did to deserve that, but I will take it.
Take the love.
Yes, exactly.
Appreciate it. Out there too. Might as well take the love.
Exactly. Yep. Okay, so there's so many comments here. I want to give proper time to them, and there's a good variety of opinions, some that I haven't even read yet, that might be good and might be worth mentioning. So we'll get to them and stick to the Stephanie Cody segment because there's more to get into. There's a couple super chats though, and we always give those priority if we can. And Derek Mitchell, king of the super chat here at the Wade Keller podcast, says, or Wade Keller post show, says Griffin, as part of his Orton Triple H heading into WrestleMania 25, Orton handcuffed Triple H to the ropes and attacked him before mocking and punting Stephanie on the March 23rd, 2009 Raw. It was a go-home show before WrestleMania 25. Cody saying we can't even show them anymore is kind of weird. Like they don't talk about being PG. It's not like Netflix has like violence standards. So
kid audience.
Yeah.
I think it's the kid audience thing. That's why they don't show. I mean, they don't show punts to the head, and when they've teased it, it would be live in the moment, not a replay, I guess.
Yeah. It's still, I'd say, a weird thing to bring up because it makes people at home go, wait, why can't I see something that used to air elsewhere? I get you're trying. I think Cody could have tweeted and said, there's footage so vile, nobody wants to see it again. Yeah. I mean, that then you're not saying, oh, there's something we're not allowed to show you because Netflix is mean, or we're PG now, or whatever.
Top recommend in the WWE vault right now.
Yes. Zach Barber with the super chat. Thank you, Zach. Says, so Steph appearing is WWE's way of officially throwing up their hands and saying, whatever happens with crowd reactions for Randy and Cody is in God's hands, right? I don't get that. I mean, I'm critical of this, but I don't think Steph in and of herself showing up is saying that it's throw up your hands, whatever happens. I think Steph is saying, just Cody, I'm rooting for you, or I wouldn't be giving you advice, I guess. You're going to have to meet Randy at a level that he's at now that I don't think you're prepared for. I mean, the point of the segment wasn't, it was agnostic about cheers and boos, I would argue. It wasn't throwing their hands up going, we have no control over it. I think it was just agnostic. Their goal was to sell people on the idea, kind of like Roman and Punk. Oh, you got to see this fight. They're going to be going at it, and Randy's going to be in a dark place. Will Cody meet him? it's kind of flailing a little bit in that it feels like a new story that's replacing the story of Randy betraying Cody. This was their way of throwing their hands up and going, well, we're not talking about betrayal. Now it's just, can Cody sink to Randy's level? So to me, it feels like an audible, but not throwing their hands up. What do you think, Griffin?
Yeah, I don't know if it's throwing their hands up. I just don't think, maybe an overanalyzation of that. I think she was just trying to come out and say that there's two paths, and she agrees with his path, but there's going to be a crowd that's going to cheer for her each way.
Derek Mitchell points out something that was going on in my head as he was describing. He goes, thanks to Real Legend for a correction. Randy didn't punt Steph. He DDT'd as she entered the ring and then kissed her while she was unconscious in front of the handcuffed Triple H. And that's what I was alluding to when I said at the time that there's no coming back from that. Like, you should never, without
woman.
well, you should never do an angle where you expect that heel to be cheered again if you have a heel do that. There has to be it's just, you can't be doing that. Randy goes to dark places. Well, right, but he, whatever, sexually assaulted, violated a knocked out woman live on national TV. It's just, I thought it felt desperate when they did it. It feels like you should be more sophisticated and nuanced in your ability to get people to get invested in stories than go that far. But there's, a lot of bookers who are like, hey, why has anyone done this before? Let's have a heel violate a woman while she's knocked out live in the ring. There's a reason that's not done. Yeah. But I'm glad you clarified that, Derek, because I was trusting you more than my memory, but I knew there was something like, the vision in my head was of that.
Yeah, I was trying to remember myself.
Yeah. Okay, so let's roll through a few other chats here on the segment, then we'll talk about Oba Brock next, I think. Let's see. I'm running into a lot of Oba Brock comments, which is why I want to cover it next. Okay, Derek Mitchell said earlier, in Stephanie's mind, why does she think Randy is more dangerous now than at no pun intended in the apex of his prime? I thought just it was a way to shoehorn her way into the story tonight. I don't know. I know Stephanie's going in the Hall of Fame, and so getting her involved in this angle, I'm sort of agnostic on it. It doesn't feel like so out of nowhere that you have to come up with an explanation other than I think it's implied she's rooting for Cody to win because Randy's nuts. Yeah. And she's telling Cody, here's what you have to do. And to use the term connective tissue of the night, the term of the night, connective tissue, she's just going, well, we're multi-generational wrestlers, we know, or in the business, our parents and in her case, grandparents were in it. It's not super strong link, but it was enough for me. That wasn't anything that I got hung up on.
Yeah, I also think it's MSG. They expect some type of big surprise appearance, and Stephanie's a good surprise appearance.
Yeah. Derek added, now Cody was the one who had to make Randy was cohort on the road. I'll say it 1,000 times. Everyone believes they're the hero in their own story. Maybe it was Ted DiBiase who they can't mention on TV. What have you thought of, and they alluded to it again today, who do you think Randy is talking to?
I don't know. There could be, there's so many people it could be. The Ted DiBiase thing, I think that now that he's like acquitted of charges and not up on serious charges, it would make sense to bring DiBiase, senior and junior in for the angle. But I've heard a lot of theories, but none of them are like, yeah, that's the one. So I don't know if it would be Stephanie after tonight's angle. I don't know if that would make sense. So yeah, I really have no idea who it is.
Yeah.
Which I like.
Yeah. Bob Orton Sr. I don't know if, I don't know. We'll see. I don't know if it doesn't feel like people are talking about it, but I don't think people are like super hung up on it. I don't think it's like a super compelling thing, but yeah, let's see what they do.
I think Orton Sr. would be a little bit of a letdown.
Yeah. I don't see enough with the DiBiases at this point, though.
It goes back to the legacy thing.
Yeah, it's a third guy in legacy, but he was such a fleeting moment in WWE history, and they don't really.
It was.
Yeah.
But it's the one that could make sense. But yeah, I really don't know.
People have in that. Yeah, people speculated The Rock, just because he's out there, I mean, Mr. XTG says, I think Randy might be talking to The Rock. Bruce Pritchard was on a podcast and said that The Rock saw himself in Randy Orton. Yeah, I mean, it'd be a late twist. I don't know if it's going to help sell tickets or help the storyline, but it would be like, oh, okay, he's a big name. What's up here? Let's see. Fly. Sorry, I have to sound these out with the spaces in between them. Seems to me Cody Orton was supposed to be based on love. If people actually booed Orton, while Punk and Roman Reigns is based on hate. Yeah, I mean, I think it was meant to be a love-hate thing, and they kind of abandoned the love thing tonight. And now it's just, can you sink low enough to take on Randy? I think they needlessly abandoned or shifted away from what was a logical follow-up, which is in you don't want Cody to be mopey, but you want Cody to have a moment of going, why does this happen to me so much? I mean, a little kind of self-inventory of, can somebody be a good person and do things the right way and succeed? And to this point, I believe that's me, and I have, and I think that's one of the things that causes fans to cheer for me. And what Randy did just gave me more determination that I want to show that I'm not, I won't go to the gutter with him, and I can, I don't know. I mean, it doesn't be exactly that, but that would be connected to what happened and the setup for the turn, and they just didn't do that. It felt disconnected. Yeah.
I'd love to see a babyface promo with, hey, Cena tried to do this, and he tried to go to the dark side. And, I brought him back, and I can do the same for you, Randy. I love you. I can bring you back. You don't have to act like this way. You don't have to be this guy. That'd be a great babyface angle for him to take.
And I mean, he could also go, I won't forgive you. I'm not going to try to bring you back. You're beyond redemption. And now I realize that. And I was gullible and it was wrong. I mean, neither is right or wrong. Yeah. What you said and what I'm saying both are connected to the angle that led to the turn, or that, the setup for the turn. And what we saw tonight really wasn't. It was just, it was reacting to the aftermath rather than reacting to the betrayal itself. So, missed opportunity. Mark Biscetti says, Stephanie reminded me in about 2 minutes why the Authority sucked the life out of WWE. Whatever makes her come off authentic goes away when she's cutting promos. I'm sorry. She convoluted this one. I disagree. I think she's been very bad at times. I didn't think this was an example of bad Stephanie. I thought it was good Stephanie. If she's on the next 3 weeks in a row, by the fourth week, I might be tired of her. But this was not. She didn't come across. She didn't hit any of the things that annoyed me about her before, where everything felt kind of patronizing and cloying, and look at me, aren't I entertaining? And isn't this cute? What I'm doing. None of that was there. This just felt like a good performance. Again, I don't like the mission, but I like the execution of it.
Yep. I've had a crush on Stephanie since I was 17 years old. So every time I see her, she's great.
A. Milano in the chat says Steph looked amazing.
Hey, agreed.
Yeah. Not that factors into whether a promo is good or not, but no harm in exposing your biases that are built in. Pun LV says they should have showed the clips as part of the promos for this match. I assume going back to the Randy kissing Stephanie while she was knocked out. I don't think they actually want to show that that's places they've gone with their booking before. Mr. XTG says, I've never liked her Authority character and the whole B-plus player nonsense with Daniel Bryan. Her husband was a B-plus player. Laughable stuff. Mm-hmm. There is just some baggage with Stephanie and Hunter when they're together that, when you see them on the same show together, I don't think they're self-aware of it. Certainly, I don't think Paul Levesque is. But yeah, I don't know that they have a clear vision of how people feel about the time that they took up the most television, most TV time, or for that matter, how people look back at Paul Levesque's career with some of his just, was it 15 years ago when it was Roman and Hunter and just this interminably long, boring main event, and, and the Triple H Seth match that just took a long night and made it longer nobody wanted. I mean, there's just a lack of self-awareness with Hunter. And so for him, and he had appearance, we'll get to that, in the next segment here. Yeah, I don't know if you want to. I don't know if that's going to help excite people for WrestleMania. Is reminding people of the authority.
Yep.
I'm up for that, even if I think Hunter,
will.
Stephanie's better.
I just have to say he was better than a B+ player. That guy was a main eventer. Triple H earned the main event. So, like, he was not the best. He was not everybody's favorite. He did take too long in the ring, but him in the ring, inside the match, bell to bell, he was more than a B+ player. He was a main event.
Mr. XTG says, I think the crowd will be 70-30 in favor of Orton, just going by recent reactions. I thought tonight was encouraging for Cody. I thought they were cheering for him. I didn't hear boos. They didn't like the line, thank you, at the end instead of suck it. But Cody's not going to say suck it to Stephanie. That's just crude and stupid. I didn't like that either, by the way. I mean, why? How do you not foresee? Even modern audiences aren't just crass as, the Attitude Era, but they're going to want to hear Cody go suck it. And that's not Cody's character. It was wrong to set up that expectation. I want to stipulate. I get why they did it. Cody's going, thank you for putting my mind in the right place so I can compete with Randy. I get that, but it died. It flopped because fans wanted to hear something crude, and instead they got Cody being Cody, and that highlights one of Cody's vulnerabilities. So I get the story they wanted to tell. I didn't like the method of telling it. I think they should have given up on the cuteness and just gotten the message across. Cody could have just said, instead of I have 2 words for you, Stephanie, before we go, I have something to say. Thank you. That would have been good. Why do this 2-word thing?
Yeah, that's what I wanted to say. It would have meant more if he got slapped and said nothing but thank you.
Yep.
Yeah,
yep.
Just the crowd would have known what that meant.
Yep. Absolutely. And don't set people up for something that they shouldn't want, and it's sort of annoying that they want it. And they're going to want it. Your audience, even if it's sort of an eye roll that they wanted that. Because, anyway.
We want the vicious side of you to come out, but you give us a cutesy line first.
Yeah, that's what they made it seem like Cody just said something lame instead of sharp and biting. And the thing is, the crowd would have popped if he said suck it, but it's not Cody's character. It's crude. It'd be a stupid line. I'd roll my eyes at it, but I think a live crowd in the moment would pop for that because, like, I can't believe Cody said that. But it wasn't the smart thing to do.
No.
By the way, a lot of people in the chat think because Stephanie's on the show, Vince is coming back, and because it's slapping over the dad line. Only Isaac says, Wade, do you have any pulse on whether Vince has been considered for return? I bet not. I don't think so. I don't give any attention to it. I don't think the people in the company want him back. I don't think Vince is equipped to.
Investors would jump ship. They are doing too well without him.
Yeah. I mean, just look at the guy walking into the courtroom for that car crash. The car crash video came out where he was speeding and the cop pulled him over and he was just incoherent and confused. And I mean, he's old and he's been through a lot. And I don't think he's orchestrating anything. And I'm not going to rule it out 100%. There could be things going on behind the scenes I'm not aware of, but I don't think there's many people in control who are looking at him going, I want to hitch my wagon to him now. I think 5 years ago, 10 years ago, sure. Maybe 3 years ago when he hadn't been gone for years. But that guy who was in that video, go look it up. He's not leading any company. No. Nobody's going to go, oh, that's the guy I'm going to bet on against the people in control now. Come on. You can play this back if he comes back and say, Wade, you were wrong, but I don't think I'm going to be. Let's see. He didn't punt her a DDT. Okay, we did read that. And let me scroll for a couple other things here. This is random. Jeff Pollard says, JF Pollard says, Jeff, I assume, been reading the Torch since 1994. Big fan of Wade's analysis. I don't always agree with your opinions, but I've always respected his passion and knowledge. Thank you, Jeff. It'd be weird if you agreed with every opinion of mine. I'm right all the time, but what are the odds you'd be right all the time also? So that'd be weird.
Cult of Wade.
Let's see. Continue on, everybody. Only Isaac says the Steph appearance happened because Triple H and WWE think it's a treat to be at MSG, even though her involvement was convoluted. Yeah, actually, I think that's a good point. Isaac points out. I don't think that segment would have happened if they weren't at MSG.
No.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. That's a good point. Rude Dog says, as far as who Randy's talking to on the phone, it's just probably his voice is in his head that he's talking to on the phone. I guess that's possible.
Why go through a whole cell phone plan? I mean, you'd have to have 2 phones to talk to the voices that are in your head.
Yeah, that's true. I guess you can just pretend to be on the call. Real Legend points out, this is the thing. Stephanie did not talk down to talent tonight. That's the thing. She talked down to talent in the past. I think she just felt it was a role as a McMahon to act above everybody else. It's important. We run the company. We have to put wrestlers in their place. It costs them a lot of money. Not treating the wrestlers as if they are up at the top of the reason you should support WWE. And the whole all the alpha males and females standing on the stage when told to, it's like a middle school assembly. Everyone stand on stage in a single file or 3 rows and behave yourself. It was just stuff they did in the ring. The McMahon, Stephanie and Hunter and Vince, they just did so many things that undercut the notion that we're here to pay to see these wrestlers. And even this NXT video stuff they did last week with Tiffany Stratton, it's like, oh, they showed me how to build a character that's like me, but amplified. It's like, that's all true, but why is it in canon of a TV show? Why are you telling viewers as you're watching a show where you're supposed to believe in Tiffany that she isn't she isn't her authentic self, but instead she's giving credit to NXT for teaching her how to be something that is less than her authentic self, but is more marketable? It's just insane that anybody thinks that's a good idea, but they want to promote the brand and Levesque and Shawn Michaels more than they want to protect the notion that these wrestlers are who are worth paying to see. It's just, I just strongly disagree. I strongly disagree with that.
Yep.
All right. All right. Well, let's shift now to Oba and Brock. So we have Paul Heyman coming out with Brock. He's talking. He's making excuses for Brock. He was not dressed to fight. I always love that one. He was distracted by Seth, and then Lesnar just goes, enough's enough. Yanks the mic away and says, just get out here, Oba. And Paul's like, whoa. He wasn't upset. He's like, wow, look at this. Brock's really worked up. Oba eventually comes out and they make a note. Cole said Oba's making Lesnar wait. Like, he walked around the ring, not because he was scared, but like, look who's in power now. You want me? Yeah. You get me when I want to give myself to you. Then he entered the ring. They have a stare down. And then Paul Levesque, it's got to be Paul because this match is so big. We need him to restore order. He gets between them. And then Lesnar ends up jumping out, to ringside and throwing a ring step and looks up at Oba. So a lot of anticipation for this match. They're referring to it. Paul Heyman goes, "This is a main event of WrestleMania." Don't know how many main events there are going to be. Do you think it ends night 1 or night 2? Are we at that point where Cody Randy won't finish? Yeah.
No, I think the title matches. I think it'll be first match of one of the nights.
Yeah. I would not vote for it being first, but I'm typically not. I understand it. It is what it is. I don't like the second most important spot of the night is the opener. I just grew up. The opener is an opener. You haven't gotten in the building yet. Like you're still finding your seat, or you're just kind of getting warmed up.
I like the Eric Bischoff cruiserweight match or the TNA X Division car crash approach, kind of. Get everybody up and going where there's not as much story outside of the match itself. I like that approach.
I would, with a caveat, say I don't think if you ever want a title to be a draw that you turn it into the warm-up opening match slot. I understand the spirit of what Eric says in that philosophy, but I've never thought if you are going to bother to have a championship title that's going to water down the value of other titles, it should never be treated as an opener to warm up the crowd. I think you can have an X Division contendership match with contenders. Sure. You can have a tag team contendership match that has a lot of action. You can do a mismatch of styles that people are intrigued by that isn't really a heated feud. But to me, a warm-up match should be a warm-up match, and a title match should be important enough that it's never the warm-up match. And I've been speaking out against that for 35 years. I've never liked TNA treating the X Division match as the thing to get the adrenaline pumping. I understand that's a philosophy, and I understand to a degree it worked, but I think it diminishes the smaller wrestlers when they're just there to be the juggling act, the warm up. Yeah,
you've got to put it in the main event spot as equally.
Yeah. So again, Oba Brock, number one vote getter in our poll. You mentioned, Griffin, that Lesnar looks like he is willing to sell for Oba.
Yeah.
I agree with that. I don't know, how much he's going to give and take with Oba. I don't think Brock's going to suddenly become selfish or pull up, have some power play with Heyman where like, we just want to squash this guy. I don't think that's who Brock is at this point. Brock being booked to be dominant is not Brock backstage insisting he be dominant. It is Vince McMahon going, this is best for business. Beat Undertaker, squash Cena, do whatever. Brock just does what he's told. The idea that his ego is wrapped up in his mind, like TV role that he plays, where he plays a certain role. It just happened to be a dominant guy most of the time. But there's wrestlers who are hung up. Roosh is hung up on winning and losing. And Brock would look at him and go, you're a mark. Be a man. Get with the times. Just do what makes sense for the story. Yeah. Brock is going to say, if you need me to get pinned by Oba Femi and you believe it's best for the story arc of my career and Oba's career, make sure the check clears.
Yep.
And I actually think he'll take some pride in doing it, Griffin.
Yeah. And that's kind of what I'm seeing. I think he's taking some pride in doing it. Oba doesn't get the height that he got on Brock 2 weeks ago without Brock pushing himself up for that height on that power bomb. That's Brock saying, I'm gonna make you famous, kid. And I would not mind seeing a very physical match that's back and forth, but I also would not mind seeing a reverse suplex city when he wrestled John Cena that first time when he came back and just squashed him. I would not mind seeing Oba Femi just squash the crap out of Brock the entire match and then just dominantly beat him. I think there's a way to do that, but I also kind of want to see Oba sell and give and take and fight for the win.
Yeah, like I'm not against Brock is a really good wrestler. I mean, stuff he did with Kurt Angle, whatever. I mean, it's just like his history is he can work a really good back and forth match. Now he's older, and I think if there's anything about Brock, it's not, I don't want to get pinned or I don't want to sell. It's I want to get here at the last possible second, get my match in, and then get home. And he's not going to disagree with someone going, your match is going 30 seconds. I think he'd be like, fine, then I'll be home 10 minutes sooner than if the match was 10 minutes or 9.5 minutes.
That's also why I think he'll be first one night.
Well, he can also just arrive an hour and a half into the show and then leave 10 minutes later if he has a 5-minute match too, which I wouldn't rule out. I will say, Derek Mitchell's a super chat, and he goes, Oba versus Brock will not open either night, as the first hour is on ESPN2 on Saturday and ESPN1 on Sunday. And I don't think they want to give that away. So that is, it's actually a really good point, Derek. That changes the calculation of what to open with.
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah.
Drew Jacob could.
That opener will probably be that Intercontinental ladder match.
Yeah. Yeah, I could see that. Yeah, we'll talk about that in a moment too. Intentional Rounding says in the chat, Brock is the actual embodiment of Punk's return line. I'm not here to make friends. I'm here to make money. Yes, absolutely. Rude Dog says, they're not giving away Brock for free on ESPN. You could make the argument he'll be the opening match on the pay-per-view PLE only portion of the show. In a way, it almost feels like the ESPN, the free stuff on ESPN2 and ESPN is almost like a kickoff pre-show. It'll be listed in as officially part of WrestleMania, but there's a little bit of a vibe that it's sort of the warm-up matches before going in. There could be a match in progress. They could copy AEW and have the pre-show, the live ESPN thing, be a really exciting match. In fact, I wouldn't be shocked if they don't have Oba's ring entrance be the last thing you see before the free hour ends.
Yeah.
And get people to sign up. Yeah. Although it's going to take people at least 25 minutes to figure out how to sign up. That's the unfortunate part of this. If you're not already signed up, deciding at the last second to sign up is a bit of a process with the technology today. We're moving backwards when it comes to ease of signing up for things. Derek Mitchell adds, I don't need to see Oba sell it. It doesn't have to be Goldberg Brock at Survivor Series 2016, but if it goes more than 5 to 7 minutes. Let me round out my point. I want to see Brock wrestle a full-fledged match. I would love to see him go 13 minutes with Oba and just tell him epic back and forth story where you're like, oh, this will end it because Brock's matches end quickly with him winning or losing.
Yeah.
And you get to the 4-minute mark and you're like, okay, what's going to end now? And you're like, you get to the 7-minute mark and you're like, this is a battle. Has Brock been in a banger, a match long enough to qualify as a banger? And then you get past the 10-minute mark and you're just amazed. Like that'd be a way to be. I think if Oba beats Brock after a 12, 13-minute, 14-minute battle, that means more than Oba just squashing Brock. Because that makes it seem like Brock's washed up or didn't want to actually perform. Go have a war.
Yeah. Cody's trilogy with Brock was what helped make Cody.
Yeah.
Between WrestleManias, and Brock knows how to make somebody, and I think he's excited to make Oba Femi. I think he sees something in him, and at the end of his career, I think Brock can look at Oba Femi as a legacy that Brock left wrestling.
Yeah. Yep. I agree. Okay. Let's see. Anything else on Heyman, Brock, and Oba?
No, I think we covered it pretty well.
So we have Seth Rollins being the charges, the restraining order dropped by Boston police. Heyman didn't read the email. He's medically cleared, hits Heyman with a chair. Gunther shows up. What do you make of that angle tonight?
I think neither one of their opponents that they were going to have are going to be healthy in time, so they put them together and said these two will have a good match.
Yeah.
And they will.
Yeah. It does. I wish the announcers had asked more questions about why.
Yeah.
Like what is he aligned with Heyman? Does he what does he have? Is Seth now a legend in Gunther's eyes that he's trying to end? I don't know. It sort of was put out there like, oh, this will be fun, but we're not going to really talk about why it's happening, other than because it's unspoken. But it was what you said, Griffin. No, their scheduled opponents aren't Ray's out and Breaker won't be cleared, or whatever the plans were.
Yeah, so I just assumed Braun Breaker had been cleared and was going to come out and spear him before he connected with the chair, and when that didn't happen, but yeah, I think that's a fair point to bring up, to say you could have the announcer should have been that question to tie it together. That was a miss on it.
Yeah,
I think it'll get explained next week, but yeah, that doesn't negate what they should have done tonight.
Yeah, and again, I'll give them some space to make it seem like it means more. That there's some background there soon, but it wasn't apparent tonight. It was not apparent tonight. Okay. By the way, what have you thought of Heyman's work lately? We're getting to see more of a range with him, with the Vision, the Seth storyline, interactions with Adam Pearce, and then Lesnar, who's being the advocate again. He's showing some range, getting more TV time. He talked about himself being the last remaining manager from the 80s and the last standing promoter from the 90s. Interesting. Heyman thinks about that stuff. And he's not wrong. I don't think there's a prominent promoter of the 90s.
I'm pretty sure Paul Heyman is my favorite thing about wrestling. Like, just going back, my break-in was the Dangerous Alliance days, and I thought he was a pretty good antagonist then, and then I liked ECW, and then I liked his work in WWE in both stints, and he's usually a highlight of a show when he comes out. So I'm a big fan of Heyman, and I think he's doing great work. Boy, the last couple of weeks when he was coming out all haggard looking, like he had but he's not really slept. And even tonight, the way he checks the back of his head, did that chair actually connect with the back of his head? Did he think he was bleeding? Because the way he sells things still makes me question as a fan, is this real? And I like that.
Yeah. Sadler Version 3 goes, Heyman is one of the best things in the company. He's been really good lately. One of the few bright spots for me. As far as Gunther, Rude Dog points out, Gunther just glanced at Paul Heyman and walked away. It didn't seem like he was with him. So that's interesting. We've got Andy in Houston on deck as a caller. We'll bring him up in a second. But let's stick with Paul Heyman and just check the box on talking about Austin Theory and Logan Paul and I Show Speed and the Usos and what happened there. Griffin, what'd you think of I Show Speed inadvertently, using the brass knuckles and then seeming to regret it, but sort of reluctantly celebrating with Theory and Logan, and where that's all heading? And then you have LA Knight on commentary, in the mix, and then getting socked.
Well, I mean, I don't know. So I did miss a little bit of that. Watching at the store, I got distracted during the end of that match. But yeah, interesting to see what they do with him at WrestleMania. He's been cursed. He'll probably end up costing them the tag titles at WrestleMania. I Show Speed will. So I don't know anything about him. I assume he's for people that still have all the hair on their head, and hope he brings some good eyeballs.
Jason Powell in his report over at ProWrestling.net. I always recommend people check out his work. After what happened, he said, "I'm too old to care about I Show Speed, but I got a kick out of the role he played in the finish." So,
yeah.
Real Legend points out in the chat, I Show Speed was cursed. I mean, others paid a price too for that. I don't know. I mean, I don't know. I don't have strong condemnation of him. I think tone wise, he was okay. Seeming like, the announcer pointed out, does he really want to be celebrating with Logan Paul and Austin Theory or not? The LA Knight thing, where does this all, like, what options did you have for LA Knight, and what do you think about how they're using him now?
Yeah, I don't know what they're doing with LA Knight. I'm not sure if LA Knight knows what they're doing with LA Knight. Is it going to be a 3-on-3 match? Is he going to wrestle? I Show Speed. Are they going to be just involved in the finish of a match? I don't know where they're going, but feel like I'm not a big LA Knight guy. I don't think he's a top of the card draw, but I feel like he should be used a little bit better than he's currently being used.
Yeah. Derek Mitchell, another super chat. Thank you, Derek. Appreciate your generosity. Man, this looks like we're getting the Usos and LA Knight against the Vision and I Show Speed at Mania in a 6-man tag match. Rude Dog suggests Danhausen versus I Show Speed. I don't know who the heel would be in that one, though, because people are going to cheer Danhausen, and I don't think I Show Speed wants to be a heel there. But the Usos and Knight against Logan. I mean, if you're giving away the Usos against Logan Paul and Austin Theory, then why have it at WrestleMania? It doesn't, you can have a rematch, but it just feels kind of like filler. It feels like a TV match. But you add LA Knight and I Show Speed to it, and I Show Speed as a reluctant partner to the Vision, and they tell a little bit of a story of how we get there. I could see that happening now.
Yeah.
Mr. XTG says, I'd rather see Logan in a one-on-one match against someone. Yeah. JC Scooby says WWE's just wasting LA Knight. Yeah, you can think he's not quite a main eventer, but I also think they're wasting him. But, I mean, you give him a little grace for all the injuries that they've had to deal with. And, sometimes there's going to be an odd man out, and you just have to, piece it together what you can at the end. And some of that is happening, and they're going to try to make the best of it in these closing couple of weeks. All right, let's bring Andy from Houston in as a caller to contribute to the show. Andy, welcome. What's on your mind about Raw tonight?
Well, I guess since you typically like to limit us to 3 observations, the first one I'll go with is
that's Pat McNeil.
With Paul Heyman. Fair enough. But with Paul Heyman, I agree with you guys that he's exceptional in his ability to deliver promos and promote wrestlers that he's advocating, and usually what he does is compelling, but sometimes it feels like he's chewing up the scenery a little bit too much, because like the whole thing with the exchange with Adam Pearce about the email, it felt like it was just a lot of time filler. And as much as I like Paul Heyman, I don't like when he's used to fill time to just bloviate about nothing, or to not genuinely move along a feud or a segment. Yeah, I guess I'm just not a fan of any character really spinning their wheels just to inflate the airtime of Raw.
So my pushback to it, and it's not to say I don't agree with some of what you said, in that sometimes Heyman's content can feel like there's a little more attention being drawn to the attempt to be funny or entertaining in a way that isn't necessarily congruent with the rest of the Paul Heyman agenda and the way he carries himself, especially with Brock. But that's kind of, and that is, by the way, I'll just say, the spirit of me asking Griffin what he thinks of Heyman lately, because he's playing all these different roles. And we're seeing him kind of go back to there was a syndicated show in the 80s called Pro Wrestling This Week. And it gathered clips of a lot of different territories. WWE didn't participate, or WWF didn't. But they would have clips from all these territories. It was a way for you to get a glimpse at all these stars having matches. And then they would also have Gordon Soley and Joe Pedicino hosted it initially, and Paul ended up taking over for Gordon, was it? If I remember my Pro Wrestling This Week history. But it was a syndicated show, it was part of Wrestling Blocks at the time. And Heyman would just like riff and fill time, and it was like super entertaining. It was the show to watch if you were a hardcore wrestling fan back then, because you got to see this young, brash, late 20s, whatever he was at the time, Paul Heyman, probably maybe early 20s, now that I think about it, just do his thing. But to get to your point, Andy, I think the setup was pulling back the slingshot a little further, and a little further, so that when they let go, it was when Pierce let go and said, "Hey, Paul, that email you're spending all this time telling us you don't bother to read because email's stupid, and New Yorkers don't do that." It was a very pertinent piece of information, which is Seth Rollins is cleared to attack you, and he's cleared medically to attack you, legally and medically. So they were building up to it. It wasn't you can say it took too long, but it wasn't for nothing. I mean, it was clearly setting up everyone going, Heyman's going to be in trouble. I bet that email's important. I bet he's going to regret not reading it. And you have to have that segment, Andy, to set up the haha, Paul should have read the email moment. Do you agree with that, Griffin?
Yeah, it's playing that's playing the audience. That's knowing when to the timing on when to give the punchline so the audience pops. So that's all that was Pierce and Heyman knowing how to work a crowd and get the best television out of it.
Andy.
Well, I guess I'll move on to the women for tonight. So I'll, give the obligatory complaint about run-in and interference with the tag team match, where I really enjoy Lyra and Bayley as a tag team. Like, I think their matches usually go really well, but it just completely defied any sense of credulity that Charlotte and Alexa came out along with the Bellas, and the match ended in a disqualification. Like, I get that they are trying to move it to, I guess, a fatal four-way of a tag team championship match, but I would rather they find another way rather than to just completely ruin the ending of what was a good tag match up to that point.
And even Cole acknowledged you can't blame the fans for being upset. They were watching a good tag match with high stakes, and it turned into just a predictable non-finish to create a storyline excuse for Adam Pearce to book, or WWE to book, a four-way, which they announced later. Yeah, you could see it coming. It was formulaic, and I mean, in the chat, Sadler Vision 3 goes, the women's take stuff has been brutal the past month. Griffin, what'd you think of what's been going on in the kind of climax of it tonight leading to the four-way?
I mean, it's an episode of a TV show. They're trying to sell who is the best tag team of this four. They keep getting in each other's way. They're going to settle it in a four-way match. You can like or not like each episode that gets you there, because you already know you're ready. You're already ready to get to the finale, and we're still a couple of weeks away. They've still got to fill the time. So
yeah,
Yeah, it's predictable, but it's an episode of a TV show to get you to the match they're trying to sell.
It just there are times when it's just so formulaic, and you're like, can you just announce the match and save us the predictable match is going on and two teams run out to interfere.
That goes back to Triple H and his long promos. I mean, he has a lengthy way of getting to the point he wants to get to.
Yeah. Pun LV19 says, I just hope no one gets injured in that fatal four-way. It's going to be a botch fest, I fear. Yeah, Andy, go ahead.
Well, I guess I would have bought into the interference if they had done some kind of segment to give attention or to give those other teams an excuse to go out there and interfere, like maybe goad on the other two teams about how they're inferior, or just find a way to earn their presence out in the ring in order to go with the whole throwing out of the match. And it just seems like they, with 80-90% of the interference that goes on, it feels like they don't do enough setup or enough justification to make it seem plausible that somebody would come out and interfere with the match. I frankly, go ahead.
I noticed that with sometimes when a referee is distracted so that a wrestler can do something to another wrestler behind the ref's back. And it crossed my mind, like, if the ref saw that, they were not going to call the match off. They'd scold the wrestler, or don't rake the eyes, but they're not going to like call for a DQ. Like, so like this idea of wrestlers coming out to interfere in a match, it's a title match. Like if somebody runs on the field in quarter 3 of a football game, they don't call off the game. They get the person off the field and then resume the game. So some of this is just lazy tropes. I mean, that's what it is, Andy. It's just we've done it before. We'll just do it again. We don't want to put more thought into it. Who cares? We get paid by Netflix either way. I mean, a lot of that's been going on in wrestling for a while.
Yeah.
It really makes me miss the 90s where you had people just win and lose matches and sort of move up and down in the hierarchy just to and build tension that way to get different people involved. And then when there was interference, it always felt like there was a purpose to it.
Yeah.
Well, in the 90s, there was one TV show and then there was 2 TV shows, and we didn't have 2 TV shows too long before the wrestling boom came to an end. They gave each other, there was more time to tell the stories. They gave more time to the stories. There was a monthly pay-per-view that they were building to, and that was pretty much it, where everything's an event now. So it's hard to make everything feel like it's important.
All right, Andy, anything else for us?
Yeah. So it seems like we're probably 1 week away from finally getting some kind of WrestleMania set up with Asuka and Kairi and possibly with Io involved. So I'm glad we're finally gaining momentum with that. It seemed like the way the match ended with Raquel was the first, and man, Raquel just deadlifted Io to get her in the Tejana bomb. That was just, I just loved that moment.
Yeah, Griffin, what do you think? This is a long-running story that Andy brings up with Kairi being abused, and now Io's standing up and saying, stand up to her. Is this something fans are they going to pop when Kairi finally breaks away from Asuka?
First, let me recognize this last moment, that spot with Rodriguez picking her up and deadlifting. Raquel's really coming into her own. She's super good and should be going after a title next year's WrestleMania. And if they don't get her there, they've missed an opportunity. Yes, I do think Kairi Sane's going to be way more over. I think there is a contingent of crossover fans with anime and wrestling, and I think that crowd is looking for Kairi Sane to finally stand up for herself. And I think the crowd's going to love her. I think she'll come out a massive babyface from this.
Now, Rude Dog says Kyrie seems more pathetic than sympathetic. And that is the risk. Did Kyrie Sane take too long to stand up to Asuka? Or is this a relatable thing? And people go, no, it's tough when you look up to somebody and they take advantage of that. And that remains to be seen.
Yep. Crowd will forgive.
Yeah.
I think the crowd wants to see it more than, than anything else. So when it happens, they'll be ready and happy about it.
Andy, hold on. A few more chat comments here on this topic. I'll sneak them in here, and then I'll throw back to you. Goodfellas says, Asuka, Kyrie, Io could be fun in a three-way. Kyrie finally finds her backbone. If that happens, I would pop. Darrell Freeman says, I'd say Io and Rhea have been the top 2 women for the past year, maybe 2 years. And since they split them up, they both are getting beat up every week, but this is how they tell stories. South Version 3 says, I agree. I can see Raquel being a late bloomer and finally breaking into the title picture in the next year. She's much improved. And Real Legend points out Kyrie and Asuka's like Stockholm Syndrome. Yep, that's been used to describe it before. Okay, Andy, back to you.
So I'll be happy when Kyrie finally stands up to her. My only concern is that Kyrie might go too far to the other side of being like very over exaggerated with how she stands up against Asuka, almost like how Joey Styles kind of marched off in a huff after giving a promo against Jerry Lawler. So I just think it might be a little too overacting, even beyond Kabuki theater, once she finally gets that backbone.
This whole angle has been overacted, and people are still invested. It's not for me. It's the kind of stuff that turns me off. Asuka is my favorite WWE women's wrestler. I'm ready for that to end. I just want to see Asuka versus the low-key legend Natty Neidhart every week. I'll watch it. So, but this angle's not for me. But there is a contingent that loves it. The EO pops are crazy, and just got to remember, not everything in wrestling is what you want. Is what I remind myself. So, but yeah, I do think it's overacted. I'm right there with you.
Real Legend said, that's the charm for me, Griffin. One thing to note, too, in this, Intentional Rounding says, I was just relieved that Io didn't get hurt on that dive. It looked brutal. And then when Raquel deadlift powerbombed her, I held my breath, but Raquel laid her down softly, thankfully. Yeah, the wrestlers or the announcers are scared that Io might have gotten hurt on that dive, too. Andy, anything else for us?
Well, just real quick before I go on, do y'all have any other callers ahead? Otherwise, I might touch upon 2 more points.
Sure, go ahead.
Okay, so I don't know how much y'all talked about the opening segment with Cody and Stephanie before I connected here.
For 45 minutes, yeah. But go ahead, give us your thoughts.
Oh, I didn't like the portrayal of Stephanie saying that version of Randy when I think the reason he has so many people behind him is that his character has been a fairly consistent dick to everyone around him his entire career, and that consistency I think is what has cemented his legend status. So the idea that he suddenly went ballistic on Cody, that I don't think that was uncharacteristic of him at all. So I don't really buy into the notion of that version of Randy Orton. It's just, so I guess I'm just not a fan of how they are selling the feud with Cody and Randy. I think they could do better, and they don't need Stephanie to insert herself into that the dynamic.
I won't repeat everything we said in the opening segments, but I'll just say I think that having the turn be based on Randy and Cody having a relationship and a dynamic and they're brothers in a way, and to have Randy turn on him, if you own the notion of what you just said, Randy, and Cody goes, I guess I should have known better. This is Randy reverting to, his resting face. This is who Randy is when he's not trying hard to be something else. And I think a lot of fans bought into that he was something else, and he confessed to us that it didn't make him feel good to be a good person. And I have to reconcile that, and I need to get myself mentally out of where I've been the last couple of weeks and in a place where I can beat Randy Orton and retain this title, because I don't know. And by the way, they're not doing enough of this with Roman and Punk either, is have Cody go, I don't know what it will mean for WWE if coming out of WrestleMania, Randy Orton is going into the summer as champion. I have to walk out with that title. I mean, talk about the stakes. Talk about what happened and how he has to adjust to what you said, Andy, has always been the reality. There's a way to tell that story. Randy was believable as a reformed guy. Oh, I'm in my 40s. I've come a long way. I've grown up, and own that chapter of the story and have Cody acknowledge it and go, I know I'm not alone. Look around at the crowd. A lot of you thought that was Randy, and it's what Randy did. I can't forgive him for it. I don't care what he rationalized about wanting a title or wanting to beat me or whatever. What he did betrayed me in a way that is unforgivable. But as I get further away from it, I should have been prepared for it, because I guess sadly this is who Randy always was and always will be. That story is there to be told, and instead they went the route of Stephanie going, Cody, you better fight fire with fire if you have a chance. And it's a story to tell. I mean, but it's so disconnected from the initial turn and angle and the whole journey we've been on. I just don't think it's a C+ story, and there's some B+, A- A stories to tell here. Griffin, you want to add to that at all?
Yeah, no, I think we've kind of covered all of that.
Yep, fair enough. Andy, what's your any response to that or another topic?
Oh yeah, if Cody is not going to sell his soul to The Rock, I don't think he's going to think like Randy. So, I'm assuming then that I missed any talk y'all had of Roman and Punk. I like that it wasn't just a.
So.
Oh, well then, I like that it wasn't a pure promo exchange. I knew that I could skip 5 minutes the moment I heard Roman's entrance music start.
Yep.
And nothing happened. And then I kind of had the feeling that just since I caught it at the tail end of Netflix, I was playing catch up all night, that there wasn't going to be any talking. So that was kind of a giveaway. It would have been more of a giveaway if they were still on network television, where you actually knew when the timer cutoff was.
Oh, right. Yeah. Although the overrun years we didn't know for Raw. It was loose.
That's fair.
Yeah. And with Dynamite, we don't know either. So, I mean, it depends on the network and the era. But I get the spirit of what you're saying, Eddie.
So I'm assuming that if we're getting the 50-50 booking of each of them one-upping each other, that Punk's going to get beat up next week.
Yes.
And then we'll have one final week sell of maybe promo exchanges or just something. So it does feel like there's kind of a predictable formula going on here, but that's not necessarily a bad thing. I will say I was surprised that CM Punk delivered a power bomb and to somebody of Roman's size, so that kind of came out of nowhere for me, but it was a pleasant surprise.
Predictable, just quickly, predictable is not bad if done well.
Yeah.
Yeah, especially if it's not 90% of what you do. I mean, you should never book, and I think this is what Griffin's getting at, you shouldn't avoid predictability if it's the best route to take, but you want to be cognizant of how often you're predictable so that you're not always predictable. So, but I mean, sometimes following a formula is fine, even if people can see it coming. I mean, I kind of knew what the email was about, but I still interested to see Heyman get informed that Seth, there's no restraining order anymore. So yeah, predictable. I don't think you should go, I saw that coming, therefore it's bad. Sometimes you're just smart enough to know what the smart thing to do is. And the dumbest things, some of the dumbest things in pro wrestling have been a bad booker trying to show how smart they are by not letting the marks figure out what they were doing before they did it, not understanding what a big mark they were for worrying about regular viewers seeing what's coming, when the best thing to do for business was to do something that people could see coming, but doing it really well so that the emotions that fans invested in the emotions of the story and wanted to see the payoff. What I was going to say, Griffin, and your point was more important than mine, but we're talking about the powerbomb, and Andy said he's impressed by him. At the end, CM Punk's climbing on the barricade, and he slipped, and he had to jump to the floor, and then he kind of made a little acknowledgement because, he got hurt doing whatever, the crowd dive or whatever mosh pit thing once. And I mean, can you imagine? He's walking the security barricade, and it could have just been as simple as like somebody else kind of trying to move out of his way and slipping and knocking him down, and he falls awkwardly. Next thing you know, he's out for knee surgery, and WWE's trying to figure out who Roman Reigns' opponent's going to be, and suddenly you got to plug in LA Knight? I don't know. I mean, like, it could have been. It just be careful, Punk. Be careful, everybody. Io Sky too. So anyway, Andy,
if I can say back to the the way you tell the story, I'm a big fan of horror movies, and in horror movies, they are predictable as predictable can be.
Yep.
Most of the time, she had sex, she's gonna die. It's how is she going to die, and and the payoff of that. So
that guy made a cocky, crude comment. Now he is surely going to be one of the people killed.
Ready for him to die.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Andy, thanks. Appreciate all the topics and comments.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Call again. So as far as Roman and Punk goes, Andy brought it up. I'm glad he did, because that's where I was heading. I obviously don't want to forget about the closing segment. There's just not as much to say about it, and I am relieved. I mean, that's the only thing I said at the top of the show. I don't want to parse any more truth that Punk dishes to Roman and Roman dishes to Punk. But I want to get your big picture, Griffin, opinion on what they did so far with the back and forth where they're tearing each other down. My point of view is I think they've damaged each other. I think that they have trying to make good TV. And the line I used in a variety podcast last week was they're creating compelling television, but I don't think that compelling segment is compelling people to want to watch the match. This idea of, they'll want to watch if it seems like the hatred is more real. Like, who's buying that the hatred is more real? And even if it is, the match isn't going to be. And if you think the match is going to be, you are watching professionals act unprofessionally in a way that's probably not going to be entertaining. It'll be novel. Like, I just don't get where this notion of, I want something to feel more real, that's the only way that I'll enjoy pro wrestling. Like, I don't need a horror movie to be real for me to enjoy it, Griffin. I don't want it to be real. And I don't get this notion of, pro wrestling isn't enough for me if it's a work, even if it's artfully done and dramatically told and well executed. Nope. I need someone to really be a dick to somebody else first in a way that has nothing to do with anything, but we're not supposed to say it on TV. And that makes me feel extra special that they said something I'm not supposed to hear that broke script. Yeah. And I like, what? I don't want to be reading a good novel and then have the author dish on his publisher in the middle of it. It'll make me enjoy the book more. Like, I don't know. I just, if pulling from reality is the absolute best story you can tell it. But don't force reality into it for the sake of reality if it derails something. And I feel I'm loading up my question to you with my commentary here, Griffin. But I think Punk and Roman tearing each other down has made them both seem more flawed. The phrase last week was, you've got the no, I forgot my catchphrase. You've got the part-time prick against the hypocritical old guy. That's what you came away last week thinking. Oh, hypocritical old guy, brittle, as Drew called him, against this part-time prick. He's prick to his cousins. He's arrogant. Acknowledge me. And Punk's calling him out on all that stuff. Mm-hmm. Build up your opponent. So when you beat him, you're beating somebody and you draw money. I don't know. But there's people who are swearing by this and going, oh, it's compelling. It's compelling in the moment, therefore it's good. And I'm like, there's a lot of junk food tastes good in the moment. It's not a good choice to make, though.
I don't know. I guess I can debate it a little bit with you. I kind of dig what they've been doing. What I was disappointed with was there was no follow-up with the Usos this week being involved in that angle, because why have they been involved if there's not more story to tell with them being involved? So that would have been my main complaint. As far as them making it real and this guy's old, I feel like both of these guys are made men. So as far as like who are you beating, you don't have to build them up as much when everybody knows who they are. Everybody has a favorite. There's going to be a contention of people are going to cheer Roman Reigns and some are going to cheer CM Punk. And I think it's going to be, I don't think there's a clear heel in this, which is a problem when you set the match up. A babyface and heel.
But ultimately, we're Hulk Hogan. You know, you can have two baby faces against each other. You're like, I can't believe they're wrestling. My argument isn't, one needs to be a dick, the other needs to be wholesome and good. My argument is they should be going at each other over the stakes. I mentioned that earlier with regards to Cody and Randy. What does it mean if Punk retains the title? What does it mean if Roman wins a title? Talk about when the referee counts 3 or someone taps out and the reality sets in. You know who the champion's going to be on the Raw after Mania. What does that mean? And then what does it mean for the loser? What does it mean for Punk if he can beat Roman? You can talk about the reality that is relevant, which is, while I was gone, Roman became the biggest star of this generation. And Punk can say, I have to wonder if I didn't leave, and I stand by why I did, but if I didn't, would Roman have ever had that run? And that's what's going to be hanging over the match during ring introductions. When everyone looks at me during ring introductions, in my mind, I'm thinking what could have been and what Roman became because of the decision that I made. Roman has a whole other comeback, which is, Punk, you have a championship that I want to hold. I need to get power back. I used to run this place, and it's hard to run the place without a world title. And you are standing in my way. But I respect the hell out of you. You people take cheap shots at you that I don't agree with. We're not best friends. I'm going to enjoy punching you, but I respect the hell out of you. And I wish you were around for me to begin my title reign. I wish that I defended against you during that title reign to sustain the level of competition. I faced a lot of good challengers. You're missing from that list. I want to take my point in this, like, people got to refine that, but my point in all that is you don't have to be dicks to each other and say the worst things about each of them that's true. You can actually build them up and make the historical nature and the stakes the centerpiece, instead of what best insult can I throw that people on social media for 10 minutes are going to be, ooh, I can't believe you said that. And then 2 days later, they're like, I don't know if I care about these people anymore. Or, well, I'll tune in because I think they really don't like each other. I don't know. I don't think people watch wrestling thinking anything is anything but a work, even when sometimes it isn't a work. I think people are still skeptical, and they ought to be.
I also think that's kind of what people like about both of these characters, is they are both of them are dead.
That's true.
Roman Reigns never had a redemption story. He just teamed up with good guys when he came back, and he's a big star.
Yep.
He's a prick. I love CM Punk says out loud what sometimes I think. And sometimes I emulate it maybe too much. But that's kind of what I like about CM Punk. If CM Punk wasn't talking shit, then he wouldn't be CM Punk. So I think that fits the character of both of them in this moment.
Is there a way to accomplish that, but also talk about the stakes and the ramifications?
I absolutely do think you turned me on the fact that they're not talking enough about the belt.
Mm-hmm.
I'm the champ.
Yeah.
You got to beat me. You're the champ. I want to beat you. I do think that needs to be a bigger talking point. You're absolutely right.
And I think when we see what happens, and I don't know what's going to happen, but when we see what happens that night, the next night, or a week and a half later, we'll be like, okay, that's why they didn't talk about the belt, because the match wasn't actually going to be about the belt. So therefore they didn't want to talk about it, because that isn't going to be the focus of what happens. There's a chat comment in here that might be.
Speaking of that belt, I just absolutely think the CM Punk side plates on that title make that title look so much better.
Mm.
I love the way it looks.
Yep. Okay, there was a comment about Jay that I'm looking for here. Derek Mitchell says Roman versus Punk hasn't factored at all about the world title, which seems secondary. The Usos are sulking for losing their belts. Derek Mitchell in the super chat, thank you, Derek, says the world title is like the child looking at their parents arguing, saying, "Hey, what about me?"
Comment of the night.
Here it is. Pun LV, yes, Pun LV19. My theory is that it's all a setup for Jay to turn on Roman at Mania and help Punk retain, which sets up Jay as a heel, maybe Jimmy too. And that's the thing. Like, if this is all about Punk retains the title because Punk's going to be around and Roman's not, full time afterwards. So in a sense, it's kind of predictable. They're trying to not draw attention to that. They just want you to watch and be compelled by how much they can tear each other down verbally because they're both dicks and that's kind of on brand. Really, this could but do you want to add WrestleMania with that, Griffin? Like the last match is Jay turning? Is that enough?
I like Pun and want him on the booking team. I also like the idea of Punk keeping that belt and those beautiful side plates. Yeah, I do think it'd be. I think if it ends night one, I think that might be something. If it ends night two, I don't know.
Yeah. All right. Only Isaac says, I certainly got the feeling tonight Punk is turning heel at Mania. I wouldn't do it. Personally, I would have Punk win clean and then have Braun Breaker beat him as soon as he's cleared, maybe on Raw. Did you get a feeling, Griffin, Punk's turning heel? You can elaborate, Isaac, if you want.
Sorry.
Yeah, we have intentional rounding says Roman has said it on air. I agree they haven't focused on it, but we've got 2 Raws left. They had to air their dirty laundry first, I think, given their history, and it worked. So an endorsement of that. Darrell says he hasn't talked about that at all. Even when he said he was going to fight him after the Rumble win, he didn't say I'm coming after the title. Plus, I hate you. He said I hate you. So yeah, there we are. Rude Dog says Roman can care less about the title, so he cares a lot. You mean he cannot? He doesn't care about the title.
Oh, you hit a pet peeve for Wade.
It's been a while. Punk barely does. When have you ever heard him talk up that championship? Rudok, you let me down. You probably just tried to trigger me intentionally. So Derek says, so Jay would have turned on Roman twice and Jimmy twice. And do you want 2 years in a row? The Wise Men turned at Mania last year and the Usos this year. Yeah, I'm not crazy about that if they do it, but maybe they have a way to make it work and turn me. We can see. All right. Griffin, anything? Well, we didn't talk Penta Kofi.
We didn't talk about their attempt to sell tickets with Cena being host.
Yes, true. Let's do that. Let's do Penta, Kofi, and then Cena for sure. There might be other things, kind of stray topics out there, but I'm glad you reminded me of that. So we got Kofi with Grayson Waller telling Grayson, don't interfere on my behalf. Grayson kind of listened. He had a chance to interfere and just sort of threw Penta onto the ring apron. And it kind of cost Kofi the match. I guess they wanted to protect Penta. And then you got the Javon conversation early in the match where the announcers are kind of talking about Kofi seeing something in him. And then you got Penta afterwards announcing a ladder match for the IC title. Great. I mean, why not? I mean, you have a ladder match at WrestleMania over the course of 2 nights, get a bunch of people on the show who might not be otherwise. That should not be the reason to do it unless you have talent who belong on that show who are going to miss it. What do you think, Griffin, about all those?
Yeah, I mean, Penta announced it. He's the man with no fear. I have no fear. I'll do a ladder match. Let's have a crazy match. I'll win. I have no fear. If it's Penta. So I'm okay with the rationale.
Mm-hmm.
As far as participants, it went through so fast on who's in it. I know Javon's in it, which great for Javon. Perfect way to showcase him. Rusev, great base for that. Who are the other 2? Muted, Wade.
Thanks for pointing out. I'm looking at this other screen. Didn't know that. Penta is he's taking on Dragon Lee, JD McDonough, Javon Evans, and Rusev.
McDonough.
Yep.
Yeah.
Rusev's good. I like having somebody who's not he's like kind of a Samoa Joe X Division guy in there, so to say.
Yeah. Yeah, somebody's got to catch the big guys and take the big falls. I mean, seriously. There was Mark Henry and Kane were often in Money in the Bank matches for those purposes. So,
Javon and JD in a ladder match on WrestleMania. JD is he's phenomenal at what he does and the role he plays, and Javon too. So that's fun. Dragon Lee, solid. Obviously he's a good athlete. And then Rusev throws a little twist in there.
Yeah.
I don't think they were bending over backwards to figure out how to get Rusev on WrestleMania. I don't think they care that much about him, but I like him being in this match. I'm not. Let's see the final card before I can decide whether someone else deserved a spot in that match instead. But
yeah, I'm a Rusev fan and just happy to see him be on the card.
Yeah,
might be at WrestleMania.
You mentioned John Cena. Somebody earlier in the chat had said it was kind of a weird, janky video from John. Hey, I'm on a movie set, but gotta be at WrestleMania this year. I retired. And Michael Cole's like, he's not wrestling. Like trying to fend off people complaining. I mean, John Cena's coming back to WrestleMania. Did you think he wasn't going to appear on WWE TV ever again? He's a host. He retired from wrestling. Hockey players retire and they still show up at the arena. Sometimes they're, on color commentary. They're interviewed. They're honored. Whatever. I do not feel that is backing down from the SIP. Now, could you say it's a little too soon? It reeks of desperation, whatever. Or we're sick of Cena. We don't want to give us a year off from Cena. I get all of that. What do you think, Griffin?
I don't think the crowd's going to be sick of Cena. I think that they're going to love to see him on their television, especially in a host role. The crowd at large, maybe not the hardcores, people that are listening to this, commenting on this. I think they just edited out the line where he said, hey, they offered to send me this big of a check if I'd show up. That's why it's a weird, quick video. But I just wanted to announce this. So hopefully you guys will go out and buy your tickets and fill the stadium.
Only Isaac says Cena was very cringe in that video tonight. Cena's just Cena. I mean,
he is always cringe.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if you watch Cena's career.
Yeah. I mean, it works for him. But yeah, it's there. Anything else, Griffin?
No.
You enjoying Danhausen?
What's that?
Are you enjoying Danhausen?
So we'll just say I was a big Fanhausen, and then I had a little interaction, and I'll just move on.
So he personally disappointed you at some point in a way that it makes it hard to be objective about his performances.
Yep.
Good. All right. I've heard stuff like that. Real Legend says you guys forgot about the Live segment.
Oh man. How could I forget?
Bitch. Yeah. What do you think, Griffin?
Hey, you know what? Yeah, it's a bit much. I would not want to hear it every week, but Liv is supposed to be this girl from Jersey who's from a trailer park and, has this side that's scrappy and it fits her. So for the big match to build some heat, I'm okay with it. I'm ready to see it in ring. I think it's a really long build for this, which is the problem. But I think those two are both great, and I think they're going to have a fantastic match with each other.
Why do Liv and Michael Cole call her Stephanie Vaquer, and everybody else calls her Stephanie Vaquer?
What did Nikki Bella call Vacque?
Yeah, well, yeah, that's a whole other category. When I say everybody else, everybody but Nikki, yeah. I mean, I've gotten pronunciations wrong before, but I mean, I guess if you're the announcer saying her name differently than everybody else says it, I guess eventually it should sort of register, and either you need to correct everyone else or you should adjust yourself. I don't like there being two. And I know one is like it's a legit alternative pronunciation, but it is not. It's one or the other. You know what I mean? Like, just ask Stephanie, how do you like your name pronounced? And then let's stick with it collectively.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's a dialect thing, too. I mean, Asuka and Asuka from Wade Barrett.
Wade Barrett, yeah.
Yeah. So sometimes it's just a dialect thing, too, and a part of the country thing.
Yeah. Well, that's why I was like, Liv and Cole. Like, why would they both be the only two? And everyone else says it the way Stephanie says it. Is it a where they're from type thing. I thought the vignette with Finn Balor was good. I'll just say that too. Talking about Dom, to me, like that was more along the lines of what I wanted to hear Cody say. I made mistakes. One was thinking I can make a man out of Dominic. Cody could have said, I made a lot of mistakes. The most recent one is I thought Randy was reformed. I thought Randy put friendship and pride of performance and performing with honor and having a 15th title reign that he deserved because he was a better man that night, not because he was ruthless and betrayed someone in order to try to get in their head. I mean, Finn hit on it. That's the type of thing I like. I thought it was just it was well produced too.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
And didn't take much time and really made me want to see that match that much more.
Yep. Cool. Griffin, plug your store and how people can follow you and support you.
So I OA'd an article. It's been a little crazy since doing this full-time entrepreneur thing, but have the top 5 articles that I contribute to the Torch. So that should be coming, pretty soon.
Griffin, I'm going to interrupt you to say the good thing about a lot of your work is that some of it's evergreen. The top. If you go to PWTorch, you go to the opinions analysis section, and then go to the specialist section. You'll see the top 5 lists. Top 5 WrestleMania builds of all time. Read it, see what you think. There's stuff out there that just survives the test of time. The top 5 pro wrestling belts, from the Winged Eagle to the ECW World Title belt. So there's some fun stuff in there. Top 5 all-time stipulation matches. Where did the ladder match fit in? Did it make his list? So go check it out.
It's often spurred by something happening in the news. Like my next article is going to be top 5 wrestling video games, because I've been playing through new 2K26. So
cool.
I sell video games for a living at Nerdstalgia. So check us out, Nerdstalgia.
You could make up that whole article, and it would be based on a whole alt universe. Nothing completely. Anyone who knows anything about video games would know you were just making it up. And I wouldn't, as editor, I wouldn't know any better. Don't take me up on that.
But you're not going to be fact checking me on this one.
No, I can't.
Yeah.
Like you could make up a video game that didn't exist and say everybody knows this is the greatest. I'd be like, "Wow, hadn't heard that."
Actually, my favorite video game to play, and this will sidebar for just a moment, but one of my favorite video games to play technically doesn't exist. Somebody went through and did a reproduction of the old WCW N64 game, Nintendo 64 game, which was like the peak video games were that engine. And they reprogrammed it to WCW Saturday Night, and it's like the 89 to 92 WCW roster. So you got like Horsemen, Freebirds, Dangerous Alliance, Sting, but technically doesn't exist, but that's one of my favorite games. So it won't be on the list, but there's all kinds of different wrestling games that can be played out there.
My top 5 video games. Never revealed this before. Donkey Kong, Atari 2600. Q*bert. I don't know if that's Nintendo or 5200 or something. Pitfall, Atari 2600. Baseball, Atari 2600. With a joystick, where you almost broke the joystick trying to get the curve ball, like to get or when you hit the ball to third base, you want it to curve after, so it doesn't go foul, but you want it to get away from the outfielder who's just a flashing blob. Have memories of that. You think the harder you twist the joystick, the better it'll go. And it's a binary. It's either you're in it or you're not. Doesn't know how strong you are, but I didn't know that.
Tearing your controller up.
Yep. So let's see. Q*bert. Tetris. Just Tetris is always good to zone out to that. And then honorable mention, Atari 2600 football. That was just ridiculous. Look up the graph. It's just like trying to figure out how you get the running back to get through these 5 blob defensive linemen. But I had fun with it. So I haven't played many video games since.
I was going to say there's a theme there.
Long.
All Atari and then Tetris, which
exactly.
technically was an Atari game. Yeah. Kind of.
And but for the record, I have played like PlayStation games, but I was at the I'm old enough to be the forefront of it, and it's nostalgic. Like everybody, it's nostalgic for me. Griffin, you know about that.
I do. And
I remember the there was an older person in my life, and he was, and he goes, "What does it matter what game you're playing? It's either up, down, left, right, or you push a button. They're all the same. It's just up, down." And I was like, that's kind of like became sort of a T-shirt and a slogan, and Xavier Woods and stuff like that. Yeah, I mean it a lot of times but there's so much more obviously to it. But I just remember being very defensive about that back in the day.
Yeah.
No, Pitfall and Donkey Kong are very different. Here's why.
So here, you may not even know this. The up, up, down, down, that is a reference to how you got 30 lives in Contra. Was the Konami code.
I don't know. I don't know. You could have just made up. You could have just made up Contra. I wouldn't know you. I wouldn't know. Made that
So
up.
Contra, like all the Konami games had a Konami code, and if you put in, it was up, up, down, down, left, right, BA, start, and you'd get 30 lives. If you did select start, you get 30 lives for 2 people. So yeah, that's where that comes from. So now you know the reference.
That's cool. I have a ton of PlayStation 1 games that I bought on clearance that are still in plastic wrap. That someday I'm going to unwrap and play.
Or you could just sell them to me. We could talk.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. I don't give up any of my old systems. And I actually, this is a true story. In my storage room, I have it's a flat screen TV, but it's an old enough TV that it has like the RCA receiver or something, so I can plug the old video game systems into it.
Like Duck Hunt.
No, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know.
Any with the light zapper from the Nintendo.
Okay.
You need to have a CRT television to be able to play those.
Okay, no, it's not a tube. It's flat screen. Just I don't need to use a converter, and sometimes I found those to be flaky. But I like to plug in. To plug in a PlayStation 1 and to wait like 90 seconds for like it to boot up, and then another 2 minutes for the memory to load to play the game. Yeah. It's like sometimes I realize, okay, this nostalgia is testing my patience. I want to play something new.
But new games you have to download for half an hour before you can play them. So
yes, it is. Rude Dog says Wade's brain is burning. I don't even know what that means.
New information. Where's the storage?
Dullard blood code on MK. Let's see. Real Legend says just 100% Super Mario World this weekend.
Hey.
Sonic 2 all the way. I like Sonic that, John. Sonic was fun.
Actually, I go back and forth whether it's Super Mario World or Super Mario 3.
Yeah. All right. Fun. Thanks, Griffin.
So, hey, if you want to talk more video games and nerddom, check me out at Nerdstalgia Shop on any social, but Twitter, cesspool.
Sweet. Thanks, everybody. I will look for any closing comments to throw on the screen for our YouTube viewers of people generally saying nice things about the host and co-host and the show in general. Well, I put a graphic on the screen reminding people how you can go VIP in time for our coverage of a big month of April, which is, by the way, newsflash, just around the corner. PWTorch.com/GoVIP. Derek Mitchell says, thanks, Wade and Griffin. Eric Moy goes, thanks, Wade and Griffin. And chat, yes, and chat too. Pun LV19 says, great show, guys. Looking forward to the weekly flagship. Yep. Wade Keller podcast at gmail.com to send a question for me and Sean Radican. Sean's written some good articles on New Japan in recent weeks, and I'm looking forward to talking to him about perhaps a long-awaited rebound in New Japan. So check that out. Thanks again, everybody, and we'll talk to you all next time.